I know that something that we've talked about before are the core values of empathy and compassion when it comes to the client. Go into that a little bit and how important those core values are to you and to your firm.
Yes, both empathy and compassion is a core value that we have here at the 805 Law Group. Having empathy for our clients is a real understanding of what they're going through, what they're facing, and those challenges that they have from day to day. And ultimately, in being able to tell that story. But by having greater empathy, we can dig deeper into the story. We can understand what other damages that are not necessarily able to be seen right from the surface, that we can dig down, we can bring value, we can bring healing and understanding so that the clients ultimately can get the best outcomes in their recovery.
Welcome to the 805 Law Group Podcast, your source for an entertaining blend of law and legal community updates. Each week, you'll get crucial insights into family law, personal injury, criminal defense, and estate planning, along with the latest insider information about what's happening in the local legal community and high-profile cases right here on the Central Coast. Now let's get started with your host, the founder of 805 Law Group, attorney Bill Ausman. Welcome to the 805 Law Group Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm Dean Mignola.
And I'm Bill Ausman, the founder of 805 Law Group.
Excellent. Today, we're going to talk about the importance of core values when choosing the right attorney and law firm for your personal injury case. Bill, maybe before we dive too deep into this topic, you can broadly explain what we mean by core values and why core values are so important.
What I've come to learn, Dean, is that core values really drive what a firm is about. And why that is so important is when you find out what people are about and what drives them, it's going to drive value to your case. It's going to provide value throughout the process, and it ultimately, the results that you achieve are driven by those core values.
Okay, maybe we can go into the whole case itself. How can core values directly impact your personal injury case then, would you say?
Well, I find that core values drive outcomes and the process throughout the process. So when you first look at a case, we look at it with the eyes of, hey, what is really going on with this person? What did they experience? And then because we've done so many of these type of cases, we can look in the future and say, oh, what does this translate on down the road? We can look and have a snapshot of what's occurred in the past. But by looking into the future, we can see, oh, these are the things that this person is going to experience. And that drives damages, which drives value to the case. And it allows the client to maximize their potential, not only in recovery personally and recovery ultimately what the value of that case is. So we find that core values are important throughout the process. One, it informs us what the client's experience is. Two, it gives us empathy and understanding of their situation. And three, it allows us throughout the process to see things from their life, to drive things that will provide greater outcomes and a greater process throughout the system.
So what specific core values should people look for in their personal injury attorney and law firm?
Well, I think that it's incredibly important that you find for a firm that is committed to teamwork, that people will work within their team and with other teams so that they can achieve the best possible outcome. And really understanding that and not just being a lone wolf is incredibly important, because it takes a team. It takes different experts. It takes different team members with different qualities to really maximize the value in a case, maximize the outcome, and help the process be that much better. Additionally, we find that accountability is really important. Accountability to the client, accountability to each other, accountability to the process. So we find that is incredibly important. One of our core values that I really love is our commitment to achieving the best possible outcome.
Hmm.
And being committed to that really helps us understand, hey, we need to do better. We need to constantly improve the processes. What we've learned from the last case will help us build onto this. Going to professional networking, investing in our skills as great trial attorneys, investing in our staff so that they continue to just be better and better. And each outcome builds on the next, and we can drive value. We can drive just the quality of the experience the client has throughout the process, which really improves every time we do it.
I know that something that we've talked about before are the core values of empathy and compassion when it comes to the client. Go into that a little bit and how important those core values are to you and to your firm.
Yes, both empathy and compassion is a core value that we have here at the 805 Law Group. Having empathy for our clients is a real understanding of what they're going through, what they're facing, and those challenges that they have from day to day. And ultimately, in being able to tell that story. But by having greater empathy, we can dig deeper into the story. We can understand what other damages that are not necessarily able to be seen right from the surface, that we can dig down, we can bring value, we can bring healing and understanding so that the clients ultimately can get the best outcomes in their recovery.
Okay. I know the core values of fairness and justice are very important to you. Talk to us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, fairness and justice are incredibly important. Fairness is a really big deal because when you're in a really difficult situation, you're facing an insurance company or a government agency, they have limitless resources. They have the ability to access attorneys and adjusters and experts and doctors that will give opinions that align with the dollars that they're spending. So having a firm that is really committed to fairness and justice is incredibly important because you need someone that will stand alongside you and help you get justice and treat you fairly in the process, even when these big players are dedicated not to do that.
Hmm. What about the core values of advocacy when it comes to the client? I've heard you talk about that before.
Yes, advocacy is incredibly important. Throughout the process, we really emphasize in promoting our clients' interests. Quite often, adjusters, experts will diminish the value of someone's injuries or what they're experiencing. And so advocating for and to the client throughout the process is really important. We find that we get greater outcomes. We find that we can turn opinions throughout the process and ultimately provide greater value throughout the process and in the final product.
Okay. Are you enjoying the 805 Law Group podcast so far? Make sure you never miss an episode by hitting that subscribe button now. This podcast is made possible by listeners like you. Thank you for your support. For more information about 805 Law Group, visit our website, 805lawgroup.com. Now, let's get back to the show. Can you provide an example or two of personal injury cases where your core values really impacted the outcome of the case?
Yeah, I think of a case that happened recently. A client came to us and they were involved in some civil litigation. They were overwhelmed with what was occurring. So we took the time, we listened to the client, we asked some really tough questions, and we were able to come to the truth of the matter. And by digging to this truth and finding what the story was and finding the real story and the real truth of the matter, we were able to present that in a very succinct, very understandable way. And there's a biological advantage when you speak truth to power. And we were able to do that. We got in front of the judge. We were able to prevent this restraining order that was going to be issued against our client and that they had already issued prior to us coming aboard. We were able to set that aside completely. We were able to convince the judge to dismiss everything, as well as grant our client attorney's fees and costs. And this had a domino effect. There were several other suits that were pending, and those were able to be knocked down like a series of dominoes. And this truth that we were able to discover was powerful enough. It nipped it in the bud and saved our clients tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And just the mental anguish of having to go through court and face this justice system and their accusers.
Now, one thing I know about you is some of your core values are surrounded around continuous learning and a dedication to just constant improvement. How have you seen that kind of separates you from other attorneys that are out there?
That's a great question, Dean. And it is something that is in our DNA at the 805 Law Group, to constantly improve, to constantly hone our craft, to constantly understand our clients in a greater degree. I had the honor last week of going to Trial Lawyers College Grad 2. And it's a phenomenal program where I meet with other warriors who are also incredibly dedicated to their craft. They learn to tell their client's story with greater authority. We work on trial skills. We work to group our resources so that we work together. This great environment really helps me to grow as an individual. And I've learned to tell a story in a greater compassion, work with some trial experts that really can help get to the bottom of the story, to be able to tell a story with authority and compassion so that 12 people in the jury box can really understand that. But it's not just me. My entire trial team is dedicated to this, and we give them the opportunities to hone their craft, to go to specialized schools and training, to be able to bring those skills and make sure that they're sharp for the next task and to continue to grow. And that is something that I don't see very often in the field. And it's something that I am personally dedicated to, and everyone on my team is dedicated into growing and bringing value to our clients and our team as well.
Okay. Now, let's say there's someone who has potentially a personal injury case. What advice would you give to them with regard to the core values of an attorney and a law firm? What should they be looking for when they're picking a personal injury law firm?
That's a good question, Dean. And really, a person should look at the entire core values of the organization. And they should really ask what those core values are, because ultimately, you need someone that's going to come beside you, have empathy for the situation, have integrity in what they do and how they do that. They need to have a good reputation in the community and be able to work well with other experts, work well with the court system, be able to present that in a very succinct and intelligible way, one that gets to the root of the issue. So they really need to find someone with these type of values: dedication to their craft, a dedication to constant improvement, a dedication to their clients, and not only understanding their circumstances and their story, but discovering that story, being able to bring that and speak truth to authority. It really is very powerful. It's what really drives outcomes and can give the client the best possible results. We're dedicated in providing those services that are everything that's needed to give the best possible results to the client in that given situation.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Bill. That's going to wrap up this episode of the 805 Law Group podcast. Now, if you enjoyed the content, Go ahead and drop a like down below. Make sure to hit the subscribe button or follow, depending on whatever platform that you're on. And remember to hit that little bell. That notifies you when future podcasts will be coming up so that you can get more of this useful content. Now, free to comment down below if you have any questions or feedback. And before we let them go, Bill, any final words?
Well, we love getting to know you. So, hey, we're right here on the Central Coast. So please come on by. We have a coffee pot on, and we'd love to chat with you and get to know you better.
All right. Thank you so much for watching and for listening, and we'll see you on the next podcast. Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of the 805 Law Group Podcast. Don't forget to visit our website, 805lawgroup.com/podcast, where you can subscribe to the show on iTunes, Spotify, or Amazon Music, so you never miss an episode. If you found value in the show, we'd love it if you could rate it on iTunes or even tell your friends. Make sure to join attorney Bill Ausman next week for another informative and entertaining episode. Remember, at 805 Law Group, we're turning law into empowerment, one episode at a time.